Hi, I'm Bridget from Suburban Sandcastles, and I'm here with Alex Stuart, real food and low-tox living advocate. Alex, you have built an amazing community over these past few years, really empowering people on the journey to low-tox living. Can you tell me a little bit about your why? What inspires you to get up and do this every day?
Okay, it's great to be chatting to you first and foremost. When I was about 13, my mum brought out this book that had the name meanings. And Alexandra, which is my birth name, Alex with two X's, is something I did as a trendy 14-year-old, and it kind of just stuck. But Alexandra means protector of mankind, or it's from Alexander. And I was like, oh, what's that? I didn't even know what that meant. But over the years, as I became an older teenager, I was overwhelmed with the injustices in the world as I started to learn about them, and I was that teenager who had big hippie statements like prejudice is ignorance on my bedroom wall. And when I was a muso and in a little band with my first boyfriend at 16, I remember we would sit and talk about how we would try and save the world, and that first Grammy Award winning speech so I was a big dreamer. I always knew I wanted to do something to make the world a better place. But growing up in the eastern suburbs, quite a conservative area of Sydney, you finish school, you go to uni, you kind of start ticking off all the societal checklists. And I realised in my mid-20s, after a really amazing start to my career where I was flying business class regionally, looking after a whole area for a big cosmetic company in the LVMH group, that my life was empty. I felt one of those massive pits in my stomach, and I was just ticking all the boxes, but none of the boxes were boxes that me personally in my heart I wanted to tick. So quit everything, became a singer in a nightclub, as one does, and then over the next few years worked in hospitality, became a hospitality consultant, started a couple of little businesses in that space, and still felt like the parts that I liked about hospitality were the person, were the people changing. So, don't have a Capri Oscar, you're in one of the best bars in the world. What can you taste? What's new? What's exciting? Influencing change. And what that ended up translating to in terms of me starting writing about health and exploring health was that my health was deteriorating on the sideline. I was getting tonsillitis every month, horrific high-powered antibiotics, not just 1 round, but 2 rounds, 3 rounds, becoming more and more resistant, to a point where one night I was like spitting into this little bottle by the side of my bed with a huge fever because I just couldn't swallow. And it was like a little moment in time where, we're so apocalyptic humans, we're so annoying that way. We wait until everything really, really sucks before we change something. But I said something has to change. And that's when I had my first appointment with a naturopath. And within 3 days, she had me on a fast of brown rice, chicken stock and well-cooked carrots. And this strep throat disappeared with a couple of herbs and that and nothing else.
So it was like an epiphany.
It was like a total epiphany. I was like, what's this? Food? and it really made me start to think, how do we, as such an educated, developed society, go through 13 years of top-notch private school education, best university education money could buy, and not think critically about what we're putting inside us and how that affects our health? There's something really wrong here. And so over the next few years, I just sort of dabbled in my own research, read a lot of books. This was starting from about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then when I had my son, and work naturally kind of slowed down in other areas of my life because I wanted to look after him, I had more mental space to think about what I really wanted to do. And that's when the whole protector of mankind thing reared its head again. It's like, I'm a good influencer. I can really help people see that there's a better way. I've always done that in all the different parts of my career so far, cosmetics and hospitality. And imagine if I could make a difference to people's health. And then I thought, what do I do? Do I study? And I thought, I've got to get this stuff out there now. And the amazing thing about being around in 2011 when Facebook was starting to boom, social media in general, blogging was starting to become a thing, was that you could share your message with anybody in the world And there were plenty enough people who were qualified as naturopaths, nutritionists, doctors, PhDs in various subjects to bring into the picture as experts. But I'm that person who just has to get out there and tell people and get people excited.
You're almost the voice for that movement.
An aggregator, a bringer together of people who are on the same mission. And I started to find them. If you're really clear in your purpose, you find these people. You're like, oh my God, me too. Yes, let's do this. We find each other, and that's how it all works. So 4 years later, this is where we are. And I look at my community, and I think of community as a few things. We get a sense of community from our family, we get a sense of community from our friends, we get a sense of community from maybe like my gym that I go to. There's a huge sense of community there. And I think about my community that I've built, and I just love coming and hanging out with these guys. It's like 35,000 of us now, because we're all after the same thing. We want the road to feeling better as human beings, to being better as human beings, to be delicious. We don't want it to be this stressful, I have to campaign in the Pacific and swing off boats to make changes in the world. We want to be able to do it as mums, as sisters, as brothers, as husbands, as sons and daughters, and just enjoy life in the process.
I love that, because there can be a lot of scaremongering out there, but your vision is really around empowering that journey.
Totally.
And not kind of, not saying everything you've done before is wrong, but rather here's something that we know now. Let's move forward.
Yes.
And get excited about it.
Exactly. I always say leave the guilt at the door, because I wrote a piece which we might be able to link at the bottom when you publish this, which was a picture of me as a 26-year-old. So that was only 13 years ago. And I was very, very different in my daily habits, health picture to what I am now. And it's just to say to people who might be just starting out, hey, these perfect big online celeb people, I still don't think of myself that way, but some people do. You see that big number on someone's Facebook page and just assume they're some kind of guru, which is bizarre. But in that assumption, they then assume that you've always been perfect, therefore it's easy for you. And this is just such an organic, slow process. It doesn't have to be stressful. You start where you are, you start with what you've got. When I started eating organic, I've never been so poor in my whole life. As two of us trying to live in the area we grew up in to stay somewhere comfortable on a single and quite moderate income. So it's about really just doing what you can in micro actions that turn into really beautiful change over the years.
And it's really choosing your own way too. It's not saying, okay, that's how that person does it, so therefore I must be just like that. It's around where can you find that room in your life to create those little bits of change.
Exactly.
And in your Low-Tox living course, I love it, because you've got a space on Low-Tox mind and really kind of detoxing from that point of view. And that's important too, because you don't want to make these changes and then feel like the rest of the world's against you, or like you're somehow no more and they're better than anybody around you.
The whole, there's a lot of different ways that you can go when you learn new information. You can get angry, you can get high and mighty, you can get preachy. None of those serve anybody, not yourself, because that negative energy inside you is total counterproductive.
It can just about upset the very thing you're trying to change.
Exactly. Oh my God, you see the stress. Oh my God, that's not organic. Leafy greens get really sprayed when you're at a friend's barbecue, and honestly, just relax. So if you try and leave those emotions out of it when you're learning all this amazing new stuff, and really just surround yourself with people who educate in a positive way as well. Some people put up like cinnamon, it's going to kill us if we eat this type. It's like, okay, let's take a step back and let's look at a little bit more research and some more thought behind why there might be a better type of cinnamon than the other if you really had to choose. And I see these alarmist kind of, and that's totally fair enough, because you think you learn one or two little things and you think, oh my God, everything I know is wrong. And so you can kind of panic. But I would urge anybody who is out there on this journey to really just think of surrounding yourself with the positive people in the space, with the people who ask us to ask ourselves questions rather than telling us what to do. And then you're just going to make it a really healthy, constant state of curiosity and a little experiment to see what works best for you in this picture. And can I change that much at once? No, that's too fast for my partner or my kids.
And it's about looking at those relationships too, because it can be, if you're trying to make these big changes to try and make your family feel well, you often attract opposition. It's really not about creating that at all. It's about how can we make change that's respectful of everyone's values in the family, not just my view that this is what's going to help everything.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point there, which is one where quite often it's the mother or the woman in the partnership who takes on the learning, because that's actually biologically what we're meant to do. We are wired to make our home safe havens. That's what women are meant to do. It's not what men are meant to do biologically.
We are the nurturer.
We are. Yeah. And you come in, however we emancipate ourselves in equality in the workplace and all those sorts of ways, we cannot help but be who we are as animals, if you like. That hasn't changed. And so what happens is the women learn all this stuff and then bark it out to the men. And I always liken it to the breakup. I don't know if anyone remembers being broken up with. I certainly do. The person who's doing the breaking up has had probably months to think about the breakup, how it's going to impact their life, what they're going to do, who are they going to move back home with, and how and when. But then the person who gets broken up with just finds this information out in one day and their whole life has been changed against their control. And we have a really great opportunity when we're learning this sort of stuff, the health stuff, to not be the breaker-upper, to not be that person who's doing all the learning on their own and then spits out these bits of information and just expect the other person to go along with it without arcing up at all. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So to really encourage women to help men evolve, to want to learn a little bit more about the nurturing side, and I think documentaries and your film nights, so the best way is to watch docos together. Do not watch another documentary on your own
and then start
spatting out the facts, because they're just going, well, I didn't see what, and then
it needs to be a partnership, or it needs to be more of a mutual kind of,
it does.
Change, if it's going to be long lasting.
Exactly. And as I learned with my mum-in-law, it has to be on the ABC to be believed. So you just kind of, you put the feelers out there as to how other people are feeling, and think, how can I bring them with me on the journey instead of creating divide on the journey? Because this is about everyone feeling more awesome. It's not about breaking relationships. So that's a big piece of the puzzle. I'm glad that came up.
Oh, thank you so much. So you've got the next course coming up, the next Low-Tox living course.
Yes, so that's end of October. Just around the corner, we're going to be doing Real Food Rockstars again before that, though, which is just a really great course for people who just want to dig down into the food system, learn about all the different types of foods, how things benefit them, might not benefit them, benefit the planet or might not benefit the planet, and then look at all the ways that we can actively make changes and prevent some of the major diseases.
And that's really great too, because it gives the context as to why we have the food system that we have, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And then Low-Tox Life, it's kind of my signature now. This course has just taken on a life of its own, and our illustrious alumni are just incredible people doing amazing things. It just really helps everybody get in touch with their values, and how that manifests in everyone's life is quite different. Sometimes you just change all your products at home and you feel really awesome about that. Sometimes you think, oh my gosh, I can't work for this company, that's not my values. So you even change your, I don't want to scare people into things going to
turn your life upside down.
Exactly. But it's an interesting thing, getting in touch with your values and where we put our dollars, and how that's benefiting us, our health, the planet, and the values behind the companies we support. And gosh, we've got some amazing Aussie companies that are a part of that course who who are doing incredible things with beautiful products that just feel so good to be supporting.
I love that you do that, because we do that with film nights as well. We really do find businesses that align with the values and celebrate them, because there are so many businesses doing great things, and it's much more empowering to focus on those that are doing great things as opposed to tearing down the ones who we think aren't.
Yes.
You know, we're all going to move forward much more quickly if we can celebrate those businesses.
In none of my notes in any of my courses do I say don't buy this brand because they're X.
And I
Never.
love that.
No, it should be about buy these guys because they're awesome.
Yeah.
This is why.
Yeah.
Because then it's a positive groundswell of energy as opposed to a negative. They're bad, they're wrong, they're doing the wrong thing. Who cares?
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing.
And just
Let's just go over here and support good people.
Totally. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all about yourself and your courses. And get on to it, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.